All right. There we are, spotting the upper right in the blue. He's playing Vanguard, not Celestials, and we have not remade the game, so this was clearly intentional. His name is Aureil. And the bottom left in the red, playing the Infernal pieces. From Senegal, it's Ruskov. Snoxter saying, it's Exo time. Here's Johnny. Here's the Exo. I wonder what it takes to get the Exo into a good spot, because it feels like every time we make a like a good spot, what I mean, it's like good but not way too strong. And I think what it is actually, because it feels like every time we add or remove 1 damage from the Exo, it goes from totally useless to incredibly powerful. Just that 1 damage, because it, you know, if you have 10 Exos, that's plus 10 and it scales. But I think what it is more than anything is just, and I think a lot of Stormgate's current issues really fall down to the fact that we have very few units, right? You know, Infernals have, I guess, technically 3 tier 1 units if you want to include the Fiend, but 2 tier 1 units that you can make. You know, they have, what, 3 tier 2 units? 4, okay, they got the Hexen, so they got 4. Just really a small unit roster, and we know that there are more units on the way. I guess Harbin, I got 4 mainline tier 2 units, because you got Spriggans and you got Harbingers, and I guess technically you got Shadowflyers, so it's maybe not as bad as I'm saying, but we do know that there are units at the tier 2 and the tier 3 level that Frost Giant is looking at adding in. They just stopped doing that for now because, well, it doesn't make sense to go and add a unit in that's going to get redesigned in like 3 months anyways. So nice little ring around the rosy there. Scout's going to go and kill off a Fiend or 2. But I think a lot of the issues with Stormgate right now, and actually that ring around the rosy actually kept the vision creep alive. All right then. Creeping successfully slowed down. Yeah, that was a painful vision camp. I'm sitting here talking about unit rosters. I really should have been talking about how painful that vision camp was. They do a lot of damage, and when you run out of roots, it can be rather hard to tank them up. So Ruskov, he's still gonna get the camp, but he's gonna be slowed down just a little bit. And this Fiend run by on the other side is really not gonna get a lot done. So for now, vision camp has been claimed, and Ruskov's going to continue to do a little bit more. As Snoxter said, yeah, you know, skipping that second brute to try to be efficient, it's a mistake. It's not worth doing. You may feel great. You're like, look, if I do everything perfectly, I'm going to be able to creep the camp, and it's going to be awesome. But if you don't do everything perfectly, or the Scout's able to kill off a Fiend, or even just force the Fiend away from killing off the brute, it becomes problems. It becomes very difficult now. Ooh, some brutes with low armor gonna find themselves 5 Lancers, and yeah, that's not really gonna do all that much for you. So Hexen's gonna teleport back home. Units are gonna have to try to retreat for the most part, and now you got 5 Lancers in your base. Knock, knock. Hello there, Flibuster. Stormgate time. Bunch of smudges. Exactly. But now, a bunch of Lancers are gonna show up into the natural, and well, brutes are going to try to chase them down, but realistically, oh no. He's going to have to spend a bunch of animus to keep them out of his main base, but the natural's still a problem. Realistically, you'd love to have a Volt. Well, I mean, you have a Volt, but realistically, you'd love to have a Volt charge. 1 Magmadon shuts this down. Snoxstar, this is the Hellion run-by that you really shouldn't worry about as much. You know, it's like a Hellion run-by, the amount of games I've lost where a Hellion run-by has just killed like every worker in my main base. Yeah, that is that happens. Meanwhile, the amount of Lancer run-bys that have killed every worker in my base are less so. So Lancer run-bys can certainly do something, absolutely. But I do think a Hellion run-by is just a little bit scarier most of the time. Maybe that's just me. But for now, the 4th base is getting set up here by Ruskov, and with the Lancers here, It should. Okay, the brutes are doing enough damage because remember, lancers, they don't do as. Okay, Aureil, I don't know what you're doing here on the high ground. 3 lancers are gonna be free. Yes, please. Thank you. All right, Ruskov is no longer nearly as as upset as he once was. Voice Samuel saying for a sport-like fan base, Stormgate may do well to have a sport-like game mechanics or perhaps an additional sport-like win condition. Not sure what that would be though. I'm not sure what you mean by that necessarily. Because the win condition for Stormgate has pretty much been the win condition of like every RTS, which is you have to force your opponent out of the game. It's the chess win condition where people, if you're playing chess, they can leave, they can forfeit the game before the game is quote unquote over because they know the game, they know they're not going to win in 5 moves. Or they know they're going to lose in a bunch of moves, so they're just like, I'm done now. For now, though, we're going to see this, the Exos start to move in. Hellborn distracted a little bit on the north side, but Exos are going to try to just get on top, run through everything. Nightfall doesn't really land. It gets on top of like 1 Exo. And this just Exo A move is, it's going to struggle to get through the Gaunt lines. Gaunts do bonus damage versus light, which Exos are light. With the Hellborn on the backside, yeah, Aureil's going to try to get through this, and it looked like they might be able to for a second. But as the Hellborn continue to get added in, as the Gaunts continue to get added in, this push is not going to be as fruitful as Aureil would like. But Aureil, he's got his 4th base done, 5th base also done here. So the economy continues to grow. Happy Sunday, Turlog. Probably move command cancel bug. Yeah, it could be. Snockstar. Every patch we get fixes a ton of bugs. Obviously introduces more, but I'm excited to see how many bugs we're gonna get fixed with 0.4, and more importantly, I think we're gonna get some of the visual reworks as well. I don't think we're gonna get the Infernal gameplay rework in 0.4. I think that's probably 0.5, but I'm excited to see the Infernals look better. I'm excited to see, hopefully, our first look at the new campaign, all those things. But going back to what Voice Samuel said, you know, they are talking about alternate win conditions for at least for 3v3. Things like, oh man, you know what? Here's the problem, because I've played some of the playtests, and I'm under NDA for that. I'm worried that I can't remember what they've said publicly about their potential win conditions and what they haven't. So I'm afraid to give examples because I'm afraid that I might accidentally give an example that is actually in the thing, but they haven't talked about. So, but they have talked about alternate win conditions in 3v3. You know, like but Age of Empires, you can win the game by having all the relics or something like that. I don't know that I like quote unquote really sports-like win conditions. Really sports-like win conditions, such as like, oh, you have to reach a certain threshold, then you win the game, or the game is capped at like 10 minutes and you see what happens there. Because now, granted, you know, like some artificial threshold on when the game ends. Because I don't really like that for RTS games. I think it can kind of incentivize some rather unhealthy playstyles. As this Exo A move is not really working anymore. We are hitting the point where you really want to have some sentinels. Yeah, want to have. Now, do we have any hangar bays? Nope, no hangar bays. By the way, double command post in the natural or in the main base to make that happen. And now Exos are going to try to get in. It's a system shock on top of things, but there's Miasma here. And well, you know what? I said with that time the Exo was done. I may have lied to you all because they're going to get through the entire front line. System shock runs through and. Well, maybe not actually. I was gonna say, they're getting on top of the Hellborn, but Hellborn are often surprisingly tanky. Here comes the Magmadon as well, and this was not the successful A move that we thought it would be. Yes, it does kill off a lot of the guns, but there are still 6 Hellborn here. The Magmadon's dead, but still 6 Hellborn here. And as I look at this, as we were looking at the production tab, there's no or lack of a production tab, but we're looking at the production. There's no hangar bay. There are no sentinels. There's nothing to. There's no nano bubble, right? There's nothing. There's no shutdown. There's no stasis drone. There's nothing to really augment the power of these Exos. I mean, I guess you can say medtechs do, but there's nothing to really give you that kind of extra oomph. There's no high command. And where is our command? Yeah, there's no high command on the way. We're not going to have helicarriers. Nothing like that. Yeah, build a wonder and keep it for X number of minutes. I'm not a... Those are maybe okay. I mean, I would be down to say, you know, like have some map objective that makes it easier for you to win the game. Like, you know, in Dota where you can go and you can kill Roshan and get an Aegis. And then that means that your most important hero gets 2 lives for the next 5 minutes. Something like that, like those type of map objectives to try to end the game faster. Those are kind of cool. Now we're going to see miasmas of both colors apparently going down, but make no mistake, these are all infernal miasmas. And you cannot fight into Miasma Gaunt Hellborn as a bunch of Exos. It's just not how the game gets played. So we're going to see a mech bay on the front lines here. Another way you can approach this is to have a couple Atlases and make that. But again, the tech transition for Aureil is just way too late. Yeah, Aureil thought this was a mono battle. Well, I guess not quite a mono battle, but Aureil heard Exo's good unit, so they're going to make Exos work. But mass Exo as a late game strat without any sort of Atlas, without any sort of Helicarrier or Sentinel or something like that, just doesn't feel very good. You really, you can't get away with just Exo Medtech past like 7 minutes or so. It just does not... It doesn't feel very good. You just we can see what happens here. You just cannot get on top of the Hellborn, especially once they get Molten Touch in. It just doesn't work. It's not an easy. It's not a good answer. So Ruskov is going to go take game number 1. Not a lot that Aureil could do at the moment. Voice Samuel saying, maybe find a way for Micro to shine using new generation RTS capabilities, more movement and attacks for individual units, basically limit unit count, but increase the power for simplicity's sake. Well, it's funny because I've seen people talk about this on the StarCraft Reddit. They're like, you know, multitasking is what killed StarCraft. You know, it's like an image thing, right? Where the multitasking is too scary. And multitasking killed StarCraft at the end of the day. It's like, well, first of all, StarCraft gets played a lot. Like the player numbers are still very healthy, even if the esports scene is falling down. And what makes the StarCraft esports special is that incredible multitasking. So, you know, I disagree there where we should be making it. I think the goal of any RTS is to lower the skill floor, but keep the skill ceiling very high. And in fact, if anything, I think Stormgate should reward multitasking more than it actually does. And that's to my detriment as a player. You know, I'm not the best in multitasking, but I think for like the spectacle and what we enjoy about Stormgate, I think it should reward multitasking more than it does. Isle of Dread. Command post first, as expected. Oh, 3 command post. Okay. Okay, Aureil. 3 command post. 3 posts before a barracks. Oh, Aureil. You greedy boy. It makes sense. It's Isle of Dread. It is absolutely a map you can get away with this. I just hope this doesn't turn into Bio behind this, because Bio and Isle of Dread is just not very... It's too long. Isle of Dread is a map that it is very hard to make Bio work effectively just because the map length, the rush distance, is incredibly... it's just incredibly long. I just jumped in the game yesterday, Relic said, to see development process. Not only that, but I realized the upgrade buildings are under the building that can use them. Upgrades for a given unit are the same key to produce that unit. Yeah, no, they've done, there's a lot of really good quality of life stuff that Stormgate has done. Now, and I say this as someone who does enjoy the game, but they just need to make it more fun. Like, it is fun. I do enjoy playing the game, but I do think the counter system is, and this is kind of a philosophical discussion, in fairness. And the discussion or the question is, should you be able to outskill a counter? Like, for example, if I am, I don't know, if I'm Cyril and I am playing, I don't know, and I'm playing MSRM. Not to, sorry to throw you under the bus here, MSRM, but if I'm Cyril, I'm playing MSRM, and you know there is clearly that level of skill difference there. If my units are being hard countered, should I be able to outskill that hard counter? Should I be able to outskill the mental game with my physical game? And StarCraft is going to say yes, you should. If you are that much better, you should be able to split against the Banes and trade effectively, even if the unit is countered. You know, you should be able to split against the siege tanks. you should be able to mechanically respond to the counter, and maybe not be as efficient as if you had a good unit response, but you should be able to mechanically respond. And Stormgate has been, and I think there is some merit to that. I think that trait of StarCraft 2 is also the reason that we have lost a lot of players that people used to love, like SOS, Bly, you know, these players that are maybe not the strongest mechanical players, but really cerebral. So you can definitely go too far into that direction and say, well, you know what, execution is better than everything. Execution overcomes everything. So if you're not going to be able to go and, if you cannot like just purely out micro your opponent, you're going to lose the game. Or I guess purely out execute your opponent, you're going to lose the game. And there is some level of fairness to that. I think Stormgate is trying to go a little bit more in the middle, where you can have funky builds and have build order counters be a little bit more effective. But it's kind of a tough balance. But this goes back to what Snoxter is saying. Skill expression across all factions, currently not much you can do with Brute Gaunts versus Vector or Hedgehog Rush, just one-sided cut. It's like, yeah, that is kind of the problem right now, where there are a couple units for both Infernals and against Infernal, like for all factions, that don't really provide a lot of counterplay. You know, Hellborn with 14 range, the counterplay is trying to dive on top of them, but that's not really effective counterplay for the most part. Or Vectors kiting away against slow brutes, or Hedgehogs kiting away against slow brutes, and they're just things that the counterplay does not exist. And part of the reason the counterplay doesn't really exist is because of because of how surrounds work in Stormgate, where it is very hard to confirm like a Fiend surround. It's very, not only because Fiends are not tanky, but because of how the pathing works, you get a full surround, and it's pretty easy for the player that's been surrounded to go and just wiggle out of it. So that counterplay where the mobile unit, if you get a good surround, you should be able to kill it off, is not really there in Stormgate. Now, that may be bad design, that may be a bug, I'm not totally sure. But we'll see. Voice Samuel saying, to be clear, I think more options are better. I just think the control scheme, gives way for more in terms of individual unit capabilities and lethality. Interesting. So, from a lethality perspective, the goal of Stormgate is to be somewhere between Brood War and StarCraft 2 in terms of, Brood War and StarCraft 2 in terms of time to kill. So, lethality, a little bit less so. The goal there is, for the most part, for units to not die quite as quickly, to give more room for micro infights. That's the idea. That's their stated mission. But to make more, I think Stormgate has done some interesting things with passives. Like, for example, like a Vulcan spins up if it's able to, if it's sitting there and fires, it spins up, it does more damage per second. But the unfortunate thing there is, if you micro the Vulcan and you move it, it goes back down to 0. Its attack speed just goes back to 0, and you have to spin up again. So things like letting people kind of stutter step micro the Vulcans to keep their attack speed up, or animation cancel the Hellborns to make them fire faster, or like you can do things that are not just giving units more abilities, because that is that's to my mind, that's kind of the problem that Zero Space has right now, where every unit has an ability, and it's just there's just too much stuff to do. But for now, a bit of a concave setup here for Aureil's going to try to run. I don't like this. I mean, running up the ramp like this, Nightfall's going to land. Sure, there's a system shock, and sure, they're doing what they can, but all the Hellborn here are just, they're doing a lot. They're just really doing a lot of damage, but even still, they're going to be able to run forward a little bit. The sensor drone's going to give a little bit more high ground vision. Hexen's going to fall down, and, well, for the time being, Aureil is kind of successful running through, but not incredibly so. And Hellborn, of course, do we have an Elder Shrine? Not yet. It's going to be done very soon, and then we're going to have Molten Touch, and then this attack is not going to be nearly as easy to make happen. So for now, Aureil is pushing. Aureil on solid 4 bases, getting their 5th base on the way. I guess technically 4th command post. Well, actually. 6th command post. Aureil not going for any sort of scrapyards whatsoever. Just like, yep, more command posts because you can get those at tier 1. You don't have to get them at tier 2, which is kind of cool. Something in evolution we've seen Vanguard players going for a little bit more, but Aureil found a little bit of opportunity here on the left side or on the right side, and that means some meat farms are going to fall down, some fiends are going to die, but this is scary, man. Aureil wants to go and kill the base, and it's not even going to be able to do so. It's going to get low, and of course that means it will die eventually. But this concave of Hellborn, actually reinforcements making life a little bit complicated. Aureil, sitting some miasma's gonna be able to system shock out of it for the time being and runs over to the north side where these Hellborn are very exposed. So I was looking at this, I'm like, yeah, man, this is scary. It's a full concave. This Senegal Ruskov is getting so much damage, but Aureil with the reinforcements are able to distract the Hellborn quite a bit, and Aureil actually takes a pretty positive trade. Some imps have fallen down, unfortunately, and the shrine is down on 13 HP. Okay, System Shock's now going to move in. Venom Trap's okay, and miasmas are going to start to fall down, but not really on the army. They're just more zoning. And okay, there we go. Now the Sentry Drone's going to fall down. That's for detection for the Venom Traps, but, well, only one Venom Trap on the map. So now Aureil, their army is going to go find the shrine. The shrine is dead. It's 13. It's dead. I mean, it doesn't count. It's 13 HP. It will fall down. And what I really would have liked to see from Senegal Ruskov, as now it does seem like the other base, yeah, the base on the bottom right side, that should fall down as well. And just this mass parade push from Aureil. It did work in game 1, but somehow it's working much better on the bigger map, which explain that one to me. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I understand that one. But it's just massive parade push. You win the one big fight, and then it is very hard for Ruskov to go in and defend. But I was saying something. Yeah, Aureil's playing Vanguard. Lost game 1. Is now winning in game number 2. I was saying something. I totally forgot what it was. This fight. So now Molten Touch is done. Miasma, well, you're going to System Shock out of it for now. Magmadon wants to join in, but does not have the upgrades. Magmadons with Demon of Tremors, with Raging Tendons, very good units. Magmadons without those 2 upgrades, not that great units. They just get clicked down and they die. So we're going to see the Shrine go down once again. At least Ruskov does have technically the Shrine on the north side that's going to give a little bit more Therium mining if he has the time to go saturate it, which he has not done for right now. But we can see the power of this late game Infernal army. Once you get up to Molten Touch, it is very hard for the Vanguard player to fight through, and the supply is starting to equalize despite everything. Aureil, I'm worried here that Aureil's not making the transition because, again, while killing 2 bases and all those imps is really good, I'm worried that we're just not seeing the transition happen. Miasma plus Molten Touch is so much damage per second. And Aureil is only on 5 quote unquote only on 5 bases, but hasn't taken the north side base here, hasn't taken the Therium patch on this setup. So Aureil, a ton of Luminite, not a lot of Therium, like really lacking in the Therium numbers. And that is hurting them quite a bit in this setup. Because now look at this, we got we call it 10 Hellborn. We have a lot of Hellborn. Where's our Hellforge? It's not researching anything, so we're not gonna get any sort of Hellborn upgrades for the time being, which is fair. Ruskov doesn't have the money for it. Ruskov, their economy was pretty heavily hindered. They do have this extra shrine, but again, they're not mining from it. So there's that as Aureil. Oh, looking for a big surround right now. Shadow Flares are going to show up. They're going to reveal everything, but it's a full surround. But the Magmadon, okay, it has the stun. It's not going to be fast, but it does stun up a little bit. Miasmas are going to go down on top of everything, and I don't think, yeah, this does not win for Aureil whatsoever. Bathing in the miasma means that everything's going to fall down. And look at that. Again, you got to transition here, Aureil. The A move was looking better, but you got to transition. You gotta get Sentinels or Helicarriers or something. You cannot rely on Exo Medtech to do it all. Something, you gotta have something more. But Aureil stays in the tier 2, almost pushes through, but Ruskov's able to stabilize, get Molten Touch, and the game swings heavily after that point.